Hello everyone, Gamertag here, and a couple years ago, I decided I'd run through Pokemon Yellow version with just Pikachu. And I really wanted to do a Generation 2 challenge, and then I remembered how well that last Pikachu video did, and I thought, well, you know what? We're gonna do it again. Not just because that last video did so well, but I'm also really curious to know how much different Generation 2 goes versus Generation 1, considering the crits aren't based off speed, and we're facing a lot more difficult matchups than we would have had in Generation 1, and I think that's going to make for a very interesting challenge. Oh yeah, it's also my birthday tomorrow, so that's really cool. Don't worry, it's not incentive to like the video or subscribe or anything like that, but it's really neat, and that's partially why I did this challenge, is because it's our birthday tomorrow. We named our Pikachu after our mascot and favorite Pokemon, Pachirisu. Sure, it's a Gen 4 Pokemon, but he's here in spirit. Good enough. Besides, we got a pretty decent one. Our level up move pool is exactly the same as it was in Generation 1, and our TM move pool is pretty decent. I mean, mostly electric type standards, but we are slightly worse. Sure, while our other stats are the same, because we have two different special stats now and they're not both at 50 and it's at 40 in special defense, we're a little bit worse. I don't expect it to really make that much of a difference, but it might come into play here. We'll see what happens. I'm honestly more worried about our physical defense anyway, considering I don't think we're going to be living very many earthquakes. And possibly not a hyper beam either. But it all depends on what's using it. What is going to be nice, though, is the fact that the first gym, unlike Generation 1, in Crystal is going to be much easier. Even the Kanto gym, since there's two regions in this game, shouldn't be too bad. But we're just going to move right on to Faulkner, because, let's be honest here, we're not losing this fight. We could win this fight in our sleep. Pidgey is just a one-shot with Thundershock, and Pidgeotto just goes for Tackle because it's still stronger than a super effective Mud Slap. Yep, Mud Slap is 20 power, 40 power if it's super effective, and Tackle with Stab is 52.5. Absolutely hilarious that Tackle's still stronger than a super effective move. That's incredible. But hey, it's nice to have an easy first gym, because, you know, we weren't gonna get that in Gen 1. The nice thing with Generation 2, though, is because there's a lot of things that I don't need to worry about, because it kind of seems like there's a lot less to show. It kind of means that I can show things I don't normally show, like extra Team Rocket plot stuff. But we're gonna move on to Bugsy. Now, Bugsy's not bad. Scyther can be maybe difficult if it, could hit harder with Fury Cutter, but thankfully it's a speed tie and we do enough that the quick attack at the end can just finish him off. But we're gonna level up to 20 because we couldn't beat the rival without getting Slam. And I'll explain in just a bit. So as a lot of you know, Slam isn't very accurate, and thankfully we got pretty good accuracy and it hit all 3 times, but the problem was the fact that we just weren't hitting hard enough. So Slam is 80 power, and Quick Attack, which was our best move, is half that, plus he has Reflect. Sure, we were put to sleep by Ghastly, which is kind of a bummer, but Ghastly doesn't really do that much damage to us since Lick just isn't that strong, and Zubat was an easy one-shot with Thundershock, getting us a pretty easy win. Okay, cool. Now we can move on to everyone's favorite gym leader, Whitney. Well, after we prepare. So, I know we're level 22, which isn't a terrible level to be at this point, but I'm worried how much just Thundershock is going to do. Now, I know I could just go to the department store and buy Thunder Punch, which is a TM, but Thunder Punch is going to be doing significantly more damage as it's 95 power as to Thunder Punch being 75. And I'm a little bit worried at how much Rollout's going to do for Miltank, and if we're hit with Attract in the first turn, we're potentially in a tough spot instantly. I mean, sure, we're gonna outspeed so we can't get flinched by Stomp, but what if we do less damage than I expect us to do? I mean, what if Rollout hits incredibly hard or we just never get through a tract? Or Clefairy gets a good metronome move? Well, the good news is, Clefairy just got Conversion 2, which just makes it a grass type, so we can Thunder Shock to finish it off, and first try Miltank just goes for Rollout, which allows us to roll our way to victory. See, because Rollout... Alright, okay, I tried. Anyway, a first try against Whitney is pretty nice, and it makes me think that maybe we didn't need Thunderbolt after all. However, we do need to fight the rival in Burn Tower. Now, if you're wondering why I picked Crystal, for those of you who don't know, it's because this fight is required for plot advancement. Because Morty's in the Burn Tower and you have to do the Suicune part of the plot, you actually have to do this fight before you get to Suicune. In Gold and Silver, this fight is completely optional. We did get very lucky to win this because he missed 2 poison powders, and Curse in Generation 2 only inflicts damage if you're not knocking them out. In later games, we would be taking it every turn regardless and would have stood no chance. But it's nice to get the fight done in only our first attempt. Moving on, we can fight Morty in the Ecruteak Gym. Now this fight isn't that bad, and I almost thought I doomed myself by not going for Thunder Punch on the first Haunter, allowing him to get off a curse. Thankfully, Gengar came out, we Thunderbolt, paralyze him, then he's unable to move so we can just finish him off. The last Haunter comes out, and then just gets one shot by Thunderbolt, meaning we could have just Thunderbolted the whole time. Well, at least we won in the first try. I would have felt really silly if we lost because of me having poor move choice. But hey, gotta get lucky every now and then. Chuck also wasn't that bad. Primeape was a one-shot with a critical Thunderbolt, which might have mattered. But Poliwrath comes in, and then just foresees himself losing the fight. Really, amazing move choice. At least go for Surf and make it interesting there, Chuck. Well, maybe that's why he needed to do training after all. But hey, we're cruising through these gyms pretty fast. Pryce also wasn't that bad. Seal's a one-shot with Thunderbolt. Piloswine decided to go for Tail Whip, and then we just crit Headbutt for a one-shot. Definitely mattered, because without it being super effective, there's no way we would have one-shot. Dugong's a one-shot with Thunderbolt, but now it's going to slightly stall, because Jasmine is difficult. Some of you might be wondering how we're going to take down Steelix, and the answer is Dynamic Punch. However, we had some problems with Magnemite, so we ended up getting paralyzed, and that kinda doomed us. So we're going to come back with a new strategy. So I went south of Violet City, and picked up a Paralyzed Cure Berry. Amazingly enough, we ended up having both of her Thunder Waves miss as we take them out with 2 Mud Slaps apiece. Now, we did have an accuracy drop, so that might have factored into part of it, but Steelix comes out. I decide to go for Mud Slap, just to try to get an accuracy drop. All of her Iron Tails landed, by the way. I just want to point that out, and I find it funny. But 2 Tail Whips and 1 Dynamic Punch is enough to finish off Steelix and get us a pretty easy win. A little bit of trial and error, but not a difficult fight. Alright. Another rival fight coming up in the underground, and now he's going to have a Meganium, so this is going to be interesting. Golbat's a one-shot with Thunder Punch. Next out is Magnemite. We go for Thunderbolt, which doesn't one-shot, as the Paralyzed Cure Berry we had equipped actually comes into play as we heal off the paralysis. Haunter's going to be a one-shot with Thunderbolt. Next out is Sneasel. We go for Headbutt, which doesn't quite take it. Wow, that did a lot less than I thought. Well, Feint Attack didn't do that much, so we're good. Meganium comes out, we go for Headbutt. He uses Reflect as we hit Thunderbolt. Body Slam doesn't paralyze as we crit the next Thunderbolt to take him out. Well, even if he paralyzed us, I think we would have been fine. Nice. However, the next gym is going to be interesting. So we have the Dragon Gym coming up against Claire, and she loves to use Thunder Wave. So much, in fact, that even if we heal it, she's just going to use it on her next Dragonair. She pretty much is going to have it, she's going to have it on all 3 of her Dragonair. So I'm not sure what strategy we're going to use, because even if I use a Paralyzed Cure Berry, that's only going to work once, and then we'll likely just get paralyzed again. Now, it is called a Cherry Berry now, I'm just calling it the technical term. Maybe I should just call it a Cherry Berry anyway. Well, let's see how Claire goes. So we hit return. She misses Thunder Wave as return takes it out. Next Dragonair comes out. We use return, hoping for a crit, but she paralyzes us as we heal it. Return takes it out. The third Dragonair, though, does paralyze us, so Thunder Wave unfortunately does not miss. She hits Ice Beam as we finish her off. Next and last out is Kingdra. We go for Thunderbolt as she hits Dragon Breath. We get through the paralysis. We survive Hyper Beam on just 10 HP and manage to not get paralyzed and still win. Now the good news is, because she would have had to recharge, even if we got paralyzed, we very well could have been fine. But you know how it is, she won't just give us the badge, because Claire, for some reason, doesn't think you're worthy of the badge and wants you to pass a test. That she never passed, by the way, I just want to point that out. Thankfully, it was never like this in any other game, and I think it's because a lot of people, myself included, didn't really feel like it made a lot of sense. But now we can finally go on to the Pokemon League. Now, I'm not sure what level we're going to need to be to even beat them, and while the first trainer's Will, I'm not really that worried about Will. And I'm not even really that worried about Koga. Who I am worried about is Bruno. And I know that sounds crazy considering, Bruno is usually one of the worst Elite Four members in history, but he has an Onix that likely even with Iron Tail we won't KO. And he has Earthquake, which despite Onix's weak 45 base, is still going to hit pretty hard. On top of that, we're not really going to be one-shotting anything he has. But we are going to take out the rival in Victory Road. Sneasel goes down pretty easily, Magneton goes down to 2 Thunderbolts, Haunter goes down to a single Thunderbolt thanks to his weak defenses, Kadabra goes down to return. Why'd I call it Alakazam? Alright, well, Meganium we hit return, he poisons us, and then we high roll return to take him out. Last out is Golbat, who just goes down to a single Thunderbolt. I love how in Generation 2, if you're knocking out Pokemon, you don't even take any damage from attacks. Curse, Poison, Burn, it's crazy. However, let's take a look at our stats before we jump into the Elite Four. So we're at level 55. Honestly, our attack stats are fantastic. The only thing I'm really worried about is our defenses. I mean, for a Pikachu, these are really good. 73 defense at level 55 is fantastic. I'm just still concerned how well we can survive attacks. Maybe I go pick up the Magnet? I mean, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Actually, no, I think we'll be okay. So first up is Psychic Trainer Will. Thunder Punch one-shot Xatu. So that's 1 down. Next out is Jinx, who's a one-shot with return. Now, I'm not sure if that crit mattered because Jinx defense is not that good. Executor, though, does take a few turns since it's pretty tanky. He sets up Reflect, so I go for Thunderbolt to try to get a bit more damage. We finish it off with the next return, but Xatu's going to be a one-shot with Thunderbolt, and the Slowbro immediately after is also a one-shot with Thunderbolt, getting us a very easy first try victory. After Will is Poison Trainer Koga. I almost called him a fighting trainer for a minute. So Ariados is going to be a one-shot with a critical Thunderbolt, and we're getting some pretty good crits here. Forretress is going to be a 2-shot unless we crit. Thankfully, he didn't go for Explosion, because I feel like that would have one-shot us no question. So we're just going to 2-shot him. Venomoth comes out and poisons us with Toxic, but as long as we KO stuff, we're not taking any damage. Muck comes out and goes for Minimize as we take damage. Thunderbolt isn't quite enough to finish him off as he just goes for another Minimize. Thankfully, even with 2 Minimizes, Thunder Punch still hits, finishes off Muck, and Thunderbolt's a one-shot, allowing us to win. Okay, well, if Poison worked differently, we might have been in trouble. But we are not ready for Bruno. While we can get through Hitmontop, even though we can't avoid Dig, Onix is a problem. Now, I know he does have Sandstorm, since he's used it against me in the past when I've just done regular playthroughs, but it's not gonna matter. Even if he used Sandstorm, we can't finish off Hitmonlee unless Sandstorm was active, and I don't think we would have gotten through the rest of the team. Alright, level 61. Hitmontop goes the same as we just simply take a little bit less damage, but we still take Dig. Next out is Onyx, and instead of going for Earthquake, he goes for Sandstorm. Now, I was really hoping we would one-shot, and I believe it was a range, because in some of the attempts I did before this one, we did actually one-shot. However, we ended up losing to Machamp. Hitmonlee is a one-shot thanks to Sandstorm, as well as Hitmonchan, who hits Mach Punch, leaving us with only 28 HP. Machamp comes out as the Sandstorm brings us to 9 health. He misses Cross Chop on our Thunderbolt, uses a Max Potion, as we just attack him with Thunder Punch, but then we're able to finish him off with Thunderbolt, getting us a very narrow win. Man, that took a lot more tries than I thought it would. Can't believe I underestimated Bruno. Well, maybe? I mean, I guess I was prepared for him to be difficult, but at least we got the win. Karen did take me a few tries, mostly because Umbreon likes to be really annoying with Sand Attack and Confuse Ray. Thankfully, though, this time she just goes for Feint Attack. Vileplume comes out and misses Stun Spore, which is really important. But then Gengar comes out and hits Curse. Houndoom comes out, we hit Thunderbolt as she survives, hits a big Flamethrower, bringing us to only 26 health as we finish her off, but last out is Murkrow, who is simply just a one-shot with Thunderbolt, getting us a win. Alright, well, how's Lance gonna go? Because I'm kind of worried about this fight. Alright, time for Lance. Gyarados is a one-shot with Thunder Punch, but after that we're pretty much hosed. Dragonite comes out, paralyzes us with Thunderbolt, hits a massive Hyper Beam for well over half our health as we Thunderbolt him to finish him off, and then we just get hit with another Hyper Beam. Okay, I guess we try more levels. Alright, level 69. Thunderbolt still a one-shot on Gyarados as usual, but it still ends the exact same way. We still don't do enough damage on Dragonite, and Thunder Wave just doesn't miss, so we're just gonna level up more. Maybe we somehow can get a high roll in one-shot with Thunderbolt. Okay, so Gyarados is an obvious one-shot, as always. But then a funny thing happens. Dragonite comes out, misses Thunder Wave, and then we just finish him off with Return. The next Dragonite comes out, and instead of going for Thunder Wave, goes for a Hyper Beam, and then it misses, so we take him out. One more Dragonite left, and then we just crit Thunderbolt for the one-shot. Okay, well, maybe level 75 is just overpowered. If you haven't seen the last Pikachu run in Pokemon Yellow, I definitely recommend you check that out, because level 75 is apparently just too strong for the Pokemon Champion. I don't know. This is what happened last time. I don't know why it works this way, but hey, at least it's over. But we still have a little bit more to do. So, obviously, as you know, in Pokemon Crystal, and just in Gen 2 in general, you get to go through both regions. You simply just beat the Elite Four, hop on a boat, and then just go to Kanto. Now, most of the gym leaders aren't really worth showing, so we're just going to skip right ahead to Blue. Now, he's going to lead Pidgeot. It's Quick Attack, but we're not that worried about it, since, I mean, he doesn't do that much. We get some Leftovers recovery, but yeah, this just isn't going to happen. Earthquake takes us from 185 health to just 2. I mean, yes, we missed the Iron Tail, but we were going to go down to the next Pokemon anyway. Alright, level 80. Pidgeot's a one-shot with Thunderbolt. He doesn't go for Quick Attack this time, so that's 1 down. But this time, instead of Earthquake, Rhydon just goes for Sandstorm, which might actually be good. So, because of the defense drop, Return actually finishes off Rhydon. Alakazam comes out, gets hit by the sand, and we go for Return. Now, it does KO thanks to its weak defense, and that's half his team gone. Now, Exeggutor had me worried, because we don't have a way to KO it. Return takes him to about 3/4 health, and then he heals up with a full restore. We go for Return, and then he gets Leech Seed back, because he seeded us. So because of that, Return isn't going to finish him off. Thankfully, he just charges up Solar Beam, which takes 2 turns, so we finish him off. Next out is our Canine, as we just crit Thunderbolt for a one-shot. Last out is Gyarados, who we just one-shot with Thunderbolt, and that gives us the last batch. Well, Normally it would, but I did blue before I finished all the gyms. It's fine. Besides, I don't think we stand a chance against red. So I decided to try at level 85 because I wanted to see where we were at. And while Pikachu we can get through pretty easily, and even Espeon isn't that bad despite us not one-shotting, Snorlax is a different story. We don't stand a chance. And yes, while Iron Tail can lower defense, even though it's not the most accurate, without a defense drop, it's a 4-hit KO. And we just hit way too hard. We would have needed to high roll the first Iron Tail, get a defense drop, and then just hope we could win, and even then it wouldn't have been enough. At level 90 we can make it past Snorlax, albeit a little bit of luck, but it's still not enough. Sure, while Snorlax is our biggest hurdle, we don't do enough damage to Venusaur. Now, if we high roll both returns, we can finish it off, but that's still a lot to hope for. Alright, level 95 should be good. So Pikachu's a one-shot with return, as it always is. Espeon comes out, hits Psychic, and interestingly enough, I actually want it to attack. See, if it hits Reflect, it's going to be even harder for us to break through Snorlax and the Venusaur afterwards, which means we're not going to win. So he goes for Amnesia, we hit Return and High Roll, and then he just goes for Amnesia again. This allows us to take out Snorlax. Wait, we might do this. Venusaur comes out as we go for Iron Tail, which misses. He just goes for Sunny Day. I should have just went for Return. Now, I wanted a defense drop, but it ends up still working out. Return does enough damage that's a guaranteed 2-shot. That gets down Venusaur. Blastoise comes out as we one-shot Thunderbolt. As long as we one-shot Charizard, which we should, we win. Moment of truth. We hit Thunderbolt, and it's a one-shot. Man, I thought we were going to need max level for this fight. That was amazing. So that went a lot better than I thought it was going to. So for our next challenge, we're going to be back in Gen 1, taking Beedrill through Pokemon Red. Now, it's one that I had considered anyway, and then when it was mentioned, I'm like, no, we have to do this, because I'd been wanting to do a Gen 1 challenge anyway, and while I considered one of the starters, or possibly Gyarados, I think Beedrill deserves its time to shine in Gen 1. I think it's going to be fun. But with that, I just want to say if you enjoyed the video and want to subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on the video, and of course, drop a comment for the YouTube algorithm, because that's important as well. Also, this took me about 10.5 hours, if any of you are curious. I was asked about that, so I thought I would mention that for this video. But I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.